Morning sunlight slid down the glass walls, slicing through the air of the penthouse office like a blade. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, souls sprawled beneath us. The view was always immense, always cold, always as if it were telling me one thing again and again. Control. I flipped through the stack of contracts on my desk, sorting the order of signatures in my head. Order mattered. If even one thing fell out of place, Cha Do-yoon would know. No, Cha Do-yoon was the kind of man who found out. Just as I adjusted my shirt cuff, the door to the inner office opened. Secretary Han. His voice was low and flat, a tone with no room for emotion. I turned instantly. Deep, black eyes. Eyes that didn't hold light so much as reflect it. A perfectly tailored black suit. Cuffs smoothed as if by habit. A pocket square folded with mathematical precision. Everything about him was meticulously managed. Cha Do-yoon stood there as though he wore his empire like clothing. Yes, sir? Yesterday's meeting. Where are we with it? Final confirmation was completed at 11 p.m. last night. I handed him the folder. The offshore accounts have been distributed through a route, and the tracing path has been severed in 3 stages. Records were left only as much as necessary. As he took the folder, his fingertips brushed mine. Only for a moment, barely a touch. But even that was enough to jolt my nerves awake. My omega instincts tried to react unwanted, automatic, so I drew in a breath and crushed the response before it could rise. Work was work. Cha Do-yoon was the chairman, and I was his secretary. Of course. He spoke without lifting his gaze from the folder. No gaps. It was praise, but there was no warmth in it. Cha Do-yoon didn't handle people with warmth. He measured them with rules, standards, and results. In the same calm tone, with the same expression, he made investment decisions and cut people off. Sometimes it extended into the shadow territory of his organization as well. I turned on my tablet. Is there anything else you require before the 3 p.m. meeting? Cha Do-yoon looked at me. His silence was always exactly as long as it needed to be. 1, 2, 3. No. Have the car ready at 2:50. Understood. The door closed. Only then did I exhale. My fingertips were trembling just slightly. I lifted my coffee cup to hide it. And once again, I faced a truth I'd been pretending not to see. I knew Cha Do-yoon too well. I knew what temperature his coffee had to be for his hands to shake less. I knew what angle his brow took when he lied. I knew that if his silence stretched beyond 3 seconds, it meant he'd crushed something down: emotion, impulse, fatigue. And I knew when those fractures became the worst. Monday night, 10 p.m. every week. A private schedule entry. Location unspecified. For 2 years, I'd lived as his shadow. His calendar, his risks, his secrets, even his darkness. And still, he remained a man I could never fully understand. Except for one thing. There were cracks only I could see. Rare moments when he seemed to forget how to breathe. The first time I heard the clue that pointed toward those moments was a week ago. Passing the meeting room door, I caught a whisper drifting out. Off-white, they say you come back human after going there. You can't get in without a recommendation. The rules are insanely strict. But still, people say you can completely hand everything over. Drop your name, drop your title. Off-white. That name refused to leave my mind. Minimal. Colorless. Emotionless. It was too much like Cha Do-yoon, like a word he would have invented himself. That night in my tiny studio apartment, I opened my laptop. A monochrome web page filled the screen. Off-white. Anonymity guaranteed. Rules-based safety. A secret space for the powerful. My hand froze on the mouse. Sir, are you... Before I could stop myself, I pulled up Cha Do-yoon's private schedule log. Monday night, 10 p.m. Location unspecified. I bit down on my lower lip. Stalking him, tailing him wasn't like me. But sometimes the day you make a choice that isn't like you is the day you save someone. At least I wanted to believe that. A quiet alley in Gangnam. A building with no sign, no marker. The only clues were the walls too clean and the angles of the cameras. Not arranged like surveillance, but like protection. The door opened automatically. I stepped inside, my coat collar raised. White and gray. Minimal. Even the walls seemed built to swallow sound. In the waiting room, a man approached. A neat suit. A smooth smile. Breath designed to put people at ease. First time here? Yes. I received a recommendation. From whom? I gave the name I'd prepared. Director Kim Jae-hyun. He checked his tablet and nodded. Confirmed. Please wait a moment for identity verification. When he disappeared, I stared down the corridor. Doors lined up in perfect repetition. Same shape, same color, same promise of anonymity. Where was the chairman? Was he here as a guest? Or was he somewhere more dangerous? Cha Do-yoon always tried to control risk, which meant he might choose the role that protected others rather than the one that was protected. Movement stirred at the end of the hallway. People gathered into the main hall as if pulled by ritual. A circular stage. A single spotlight. At the center stood a man in a black suit and a white mask. His voice came through a modulator slightly distorted, but rhythm couldn't be hidden. "Welcome to Off-White." My breath stopped. When he lifted his hand to gesture toward something, a memory overlapped. Cha Do-yoon raising his hand at a board meeting in the exact same angle. The way his knuckles tightened. The precise distance he allowed his elbow to rise, no more, no less. Administrator N. The rules here are simple. First, anonymity. No one asks who you are outside these walls. Second, consent. Everything happens by agreement. Third, safety. Here you will be completely protected. My heart beat strangely. No, I told myself. That can't be. Then someone asked a question. What happens if someone breaks the rules? Administrator N paused. 1, 2, 3. The length of that silence was too familiar. Administrator N. Immediate removal. Permanent ban. This place survives on trust. I clenched the pen in my hand. Like work. I recorded the clues. 3-second silence. Gesture. The rhythm of his endings. Don't be sure. Not yet. For now, it was only probability. But probability, stacked high enough, becomes fact. As I was guided toward an individual room, I kept scanning. Guest seats. Waiting booths. Consultation rooms. Lounge areas. Cha Do-yoon was nowhere. Then commotion. "Hey, do you know who I am?" A drunken voice. Force. A violation of the rules. I opened the door and stepped into the corridor. A man was threatening another participant. The victim backed away, shaking. "Get away from me!" The man staggered forward and reached for their wrist. A shadow moved. Administrator N. He caught the man's arm and twisted it at a precise angle, pinning him down in one efficient motion. No wasted movement. As if the rules themselves had taken physical form. Administrator N. Violation of the rules. Immediate removal. "What the hell, who are you?" Before he could shout more, security arrived and dragged him out. Administrator N escorted the shaken participant to safety. And when he turned, his eyes met mine. Beneath the mask, the visible portion of his eyes held a color that stopped my blood. Gray. The same shade as Cha Do-yoon's. Not just the color. The same absence of color. He stared at me for 1 second. That 1 second felt strangely long. Then he gave the smallest nod. I froze. The probability became 99%. I still didn't know why he'd chosen to be an administrator instead of a guest. But I was already standing at the edge of the truth. Dawn. My studio apartment. My laptop screen showed a spreadsheet. Coffee temperature 67. Monday night, 10 p.m. 3-second silence. Knuckle habit. Restraint technique. Breath at the end of sentences. I played old meeting footage. There he was, Cha Do-yoon, lifting his hand the same way, holding the same 3-second silence, closing his sentences with the same cadence. Why? I asked myself. Why would the chairman be staff instead of a guest? Guests are protected. Staff protect. If Cha Do-yoon stood on the protecting side, then was it instinct, guilt, or was it simply the only way he could breathe? Looking at the sunrise beyond my window, I made a small decision. I'd go back, and this time, I'd get certainty. The next morning, the penthouse, Cha Do-yoon walked in as usual. I set down his coffee as usual. When he took the cup, my fingertips trembled again. I tightened my wrist, terrified he would notice. "Did you rest well last night?" My heart dropped. "Yes," I rested. Cha Do-yoon looked at me. His gaze felt like confirmation, and like warning. "Is that so?" Good. The word sounded too meaningful. That evening, a dinner with Chairman Kang Min-ho of a rival conglomerate. A private dining room. City lights glittered through the glass. Kang Min-ho was the kind of man who hid blades behind a smile. "Chairman Cha, you look more relaxed lately." Cha Do-yoon took a sip of wine, expressionless. "If I seem relaxed, you're mistaken." Kang smiled. "People need a place to let go, especially people like us." Then he dropped the word as if casually. "Have you heard of Off-White?" The moment I swallowed my breath, Cha Do-yoon's brow lifted just slightly. He smoothed it back into neutrality immediately. "I've never heard the name." A lie. I was sure. When Cha Do-yoon lied, his left eyebrow rose by about 0.5 millimeter. Tiny, But I'd survived for 3 years by reading half millimeters. That night, I got a message from Cha Do-yoon. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Urgent. What is it about? I tried to type, but my fingers stopped. He'd told me not to ask. And I was his secretary. But this time, I went back to Off-White. Off-White. Back office. Monitors lined the walls. Logs streamed down screens. Rule violation alerts pulsed red. I had no right to enter the staff zone. But a secretary makes a living designing the edges of access. The gaps in schedules, the gaps in security, the gaps in people. I didn't tap my badge. I slipped in behind a guard before the door fully shut. My heart rose to my throat. Then, from inside, a voice, "Come in." Low, familiar. I froze. At the monitor sat a man holding a white mask. Cha Do-yoon. He looked at me as if he'd already expected me. His shirt was unbuttoned by 2 buttons. His tie loosened. And beneath his eyes lay a thin shadow of exhaustion, an imperfection he would never allow in the office. "Sir?" My voice shook without permission. He held my gaze for a long time, then spoke softly. "Since when?" "I suspected 2 weeks ago and confirmed last week." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you didn't either." For 2 years. Something shifted at the corner of his mouth, half amusement, half tension, half helplessness. "This is dangerous information." He took a step toward me. "The more you know, the more dangerous it becomes." I didn't step back. "I already know many of your secrets. What difference does one more make?" For the first time, his eyes wavered. "A fracture." Cha Do-yoon turned his head slightly, like a man refusing to be caught shaking. "Kang Min-ho is moving." He said it plainly. "He's threatening to expose Off-White's participant list." I inhaled sharply. "Then everyone inside. Ends." His voice dropped. "Politicians, celebrities, executives. The second their names are exposed, their lives are over." The tone sounded like fear. Cha Do-yoon rarely feared anything. At least Chairman Cha didn't. But here, holding the mask in his hand, he looked like a tired human. "We have to stop him." The moment I said it, he raised his head. "What?" "I'll help you." He stared, evaluating. And somewhere deep in that stare, something like expectation. "Why would you go that far?" He asked low. I hesitated. And instead of giving the full truth, I gave only half. "Because it's my job." He exhaled like a laugh. "Of course. You would say that." From that day on, I lived 2 lives too, though mine wasn't a second identity. It was a second battlefield. Daytime the office, night the shadow behind Off-White. Cha Do-yoon was different with the mask on and off. With it, he was the rules. Without it, he was a man trying to keep others safe while barely holding himself together. I analyzed the system. Entry logs, encryption, insider vulnerabilities. The conclusion was clear. Kang Min-ho wasn't hacking. He was buying people. So I built a reverse trace trigger, a fake list convincing on the surface, but structured to reveal tampering the moment it was verified. A code embedded to clone the intruder's communications the second the file was opened, and a packet that would split into 3 separate transmissions if the data ever left the building. "The more he moves," I said, staring at the monitor, "the more evidence he leaves behind." Cha Do-yoon watched me quietly. "You protect people with systems. Violence is short-term," I replied. "Rules are long-term." He closed his eyes briefly, and in that moment he looked close. "Why did you build Off-White?" I asked. He didn't answer. Silence. 1, 2, 3, 4. This time it wasn't 3 seconds. It was longer. Finally, he spoke in a low voice. "People like me don't have a place to be weak." His tie loosened further. His knuckles went white with tension. "If I break for even a moment, someone will use it." Then he looked at me. "But here, if I create rules that protect others, those rules protect me too." I understood. The mask wasn't for hiding. It was for surviving. "You're human enough already," I told him. He gave a quiet, bitter smile. "The version of me you see in the office is armor." His eyes flicked to my wrist the wearable band I wore. "And you too." I flinched. "When did you notice? Every Monday your heart rate spikes." He said it calmly. "You have fractures too." The words warmed something inside me, because no one had ever read my cracks before. Then an alert. Internal transfer attempt detected. "Now." I pointed at the screen. "Someone's copying the file." Cha Do-yoon stood instantly. "Where?" "Third floor control room." We ran at the same time. Third floor control room. We kicked the door open to find an employee trying to pull out a USB drive. Cha Do-yoon's voice dropped like ice. "Assistant Manager Kim." The man turned, frozen. "Administrator." Put it down. He shook. I saw it in his face. Fear, guilt, desperation. That wasn't greed. That was survival. How much did Kang offer you? I asked. Kim collapsed. I'm sorry my child is sick. I needed hospital money. Cha Do-yoon's fist tightened. He didn't tolerate betrayal. Not in the office. Not anywhere. But I caught his arm. Sir? He looked at me, eyes tight. I turned to Kim. Did you send it already? Kim shook his head violently. Not yet, I'm supposed to hand it over tomorrow. I looked at Cha Do-yoon. We still have time. Cha Do-yoon stared at the USB, then said softly, Give him the fake file? That night, we finished the decoy list. Cha Do-yoon stood beside me, watching the monitor, then spoke quietly. You might be the person I trust most. My hands froze. It was too direct, too unfiltered. Cha Do-yoon wasn't someone who spoke like that. Before I could respond, the alert sounded again. File transfer complete. Trigger pending. I stared at the screen, holding my breath. Did he open it? Cha Do-yoon asked low, not yet waiting. 1 second. 2. 3. Then, now. Data poured in like a waterfall. Communication logs. Backdoor deals. Broker meetings. Political slush funds. I let out a short laugh. Got him. Cha Do-yoon exhaled. And for the first time, that breath looked almost relieved. The next day, we sent Kang a message, mutually assured destruction. If you touch Off-White, everything you are collapses. Neutral zone. Rooftop of an abandoned building. Wind lashed hard. The city lights trembled below. Kang Min-ho sneered. Chairman Cha, you called me here to negotiate? Cha Do-yoon was cold. This isn't a negotiation. It's an ultimatum. Kang shrugged. If I release the list, I stepped forward and showed him the tablet. This is more interesting. Kang's face went white. How? The moment you moved against Off-White, I said, we collected everything. Cha Do-yoon stepped closer. Choose, Kang. His voice stayed low. Walk away quietly or fall with us. Kang clenched his teeth. You win this time. Cha Do-yoon didn't blink. And I'll keep winning. Kang turned and left. The wind snapped his coat behind him. The city lights looked brighter. Inside the car. As the adrenaline drained, my fingertips turned cold. When the rush fades, the body collapses first. Cha Do-yoon stared out the window. Thank you, Han. It's my job. He turned. No. His voice softened. This wasn't your job. Then, slowly, he reached out and took my hand. His palm was warm. The warmth traveled up my skin. I looked at him, startled. Cha Do-yoon always kept distance. He never reached first. Han, he said quietly. There's something I need to tell you. The car stopped in front of the company building. He didn't let go. Tomorrow. His voice wavered just slightly. Tomorrow I'll say it properly. Tonight I need time to be ready. I nodded. The moment his hand left mine, I felt strangely empty. The next day. Chairman's office. When Cha Do-yoon entered, the air changed. Same room, different density. Sit, Han. I sat on the sofa carefully. He stayed standing for a moment, inhaling, steadying himself. Then he spoke. For 3 years, I saw you only as my secretary. My heart dropped. A competent employee, someone without mistakes. Then he looked at me, but recently that changed. There was something human in his voice, something unarmored. After everything that happened, I realized something. He walked closer. The person I trust most. The person I can show my weakest side to. He inhaled. That person is you. My lips parted, but no words came. Cha Do-yoon stopped in front of me. I like you. A direct sentence. A sentence unlike him. Not as an employee. As a person. My eyes burned. Sir? His hand rose to my cheek. The touch was careful, as if I might break. Say my real name. He murmured. Call me Do-yoon. I swallowed hard. Do-yoon. His mouth curved, rare and soft. Good. He lowered his head slowly. Our lips met. The first kiss was light testing, confirming. The second was deeper, as if something he'd been holding back finally broke loose. My hand clenched his shirt collar. He pulled my waist closer. Breath tangled with breath. When the kiss ended, our foreheads stayed close. Cha Do-yoon whispered against my lips. Are you afraid? I shook my head. Strangely, no. A quiet, brief laugh. That's the dangerous thing about you, Han. Before the words even settled, he kissed me again. That night. Off-White's private room. Cha Do-yoon wasn't wearing his mask. He locked the door and said, This is the place I like most. It's quiet. That's why. He took my hand and guided me in. White tones, warm light, not a bed, but a sofa with blankets built for rest. He stood in front of me and undid my shirt buttons one by one. His hands were skilled but careful. Duyun. It's okay. His fingers brushed my neck, gentle. My breath trembled. Sensation rose where I'd kept it buried. He whispered at my ear. I thought I could only breathe here. I tugged his tie loose. His throat showed. His Adam's apple shifted. Then now, I said low, I'll make sure you can breathe in the daylight too. He pulled me into his arms. Breath touched my skin. The kiss began again, slower, hotter, longer. A hand slid to my waist and back up again. I steadied myself on his shoulder, feeling the solid strength beneath the suit. Cha Do-yoon murmured, with you beside me, my control comes undone. Then let it, I whispered. Here it's allowed. He looked at me for a moment, then nodded. Months later, Administrator N stood on Off-White's stage. There was an external threat. His voice was modulated, but the sincerity wasn't. We defended successfully. Off-White is your refuge. It will remain so. Applause broke out. Then he said, today I will introduce a new co-administrator. I stepped onto the stage. A white mask. Administrator S. It is an honor to serve you. My voice was modulated, but my hands didn't shake. Because someone behind me just barely took my hand. Behind the mask, I smiled. Rooftop garden. After the event, we removed our masks. Stars dotted the night sky. Cha Do-yoon said, you can see the stars well up here. I looked up. It's beautiful. He added softly, watching my profile. Not as beautiful as you. When did you start saying things like that? Because of you. He took my hand. You changed me. I exhaled. Me too. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Han. He spoke my real name clearly. Han Seo-yoon. Inside were two simple rings, polished, colorless, off-white in their shine. Will you stay with me for the rest of your life? Tears gathered and laughter came first. Yes, I said. Of course. He slipped the ring onto my finger. I slid the other onto his. We looked at each other. Cha Do-yoon lifted his hand to my cheek. I love you. I covered his hand with mine. I love you too. We kissed. This time, there was no rush. Because we already knew how to breathe together. We have three faces. The face we wear in the daylight. The face we wear at night, and our real face. A mask isn't for hiding. It's how we survived. But when you wear it with someone, even the mask can become truth.
Please look forward to what's coming next. Don't forget to subscribe. New stories will be uploaded soon. I will be back with even more compelling and unforgettable stories.